The following is a paid advertisement. The content shared does not reflect the beliefs or opinions of Three Eagles Communications, Headwaters Media, or Heart of the Rockies radio management or staff.
Hi, and welcome to the Living in Salida podcast. I'm Monica McCarthy, your host, and I'm a realtor in Salida, Colorado. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing Paul Byars. He is a Salida native, a musician, a carpenter. He was the most recent commodore to represent Salida in the FIBArk Whitewater Festival. We'll talk a little bit about that today. And he is probably one of the most energetic and active people in our community. He'll give some good insight into all of the outdoor things you can do here. And in my opinion, he's the unofficial ambassador of Salida. So wow. Most people know you. Yes, Paul, thank you for coming.
Yes, it's good to be in your company again. It's been a while.
It has been. Yeah, we met, I think it was 2017 or something like that.
Yeah.
Doing yoga together. And
we had a good little yoga studio until COVID kind of shut that down, and then we just left it closed. We didn't reopen or whatever. So my yoga has been lacking.
And we practiced Iyengar, and it kind of helped correct all the damage you're doing to your body by playing outside so much,
pretty much, yeah.
So you haven't done yoga since then?
Not since really. 2020? Once in a while with Lindsay and some of the people that have studied with Brenda, and once in a while I'll do my own practice, but not like I should. Not like
okay.
I was pretty spoiled to just go to class all the time.
Yeah, because it was the building that you own. So when you live above a yoga studio, it's easy to do yoga all the time.
Yeah,
right?
And I went to a lot of the classes in Gunnison and Crested Butte too.
That's true, right.
So I did 20 years of yoga, and you wouldn't know it, but...
That's okay. Well, it was a lovely way to meet you, and that was my introduction to the Salida community, was this gorgeous little yoga community that you're
and we
a part
had
of.
a really good, and there still is out there a great yoga community, but our central little group isn't meeting anymore because we just Brenda retired and moved to Montrose and what have you, so we just have not been gathering there, but I definitely miss those days of meeting the different people and rushing to yoga and then rushing out of yoga to go surf or whatever.
to do all the stuff that you do. So now I just randomly kind of see you around town. But to back up, so in this podcast, I ask everybody their Salida origin story, but you're a native.
Mine's is pretty young.
So tell me.
Well, I'm, technically I guess I'm from Denver. I was born in Denver, but I moved here when I was 1.
Okay.
By not my choice, of course, but I'm fine with the choice that my father and mother made. My dad wanted to find a little town to pursue his art career and get out of the city. He was, wanting to discover a place that you could live and have a studio and so they consider him the godfather of art or grandfather of art in Salida. He was one of the first artists to come here and get a gallery going and do his art career. And then my mom, followed and just wanted to be a mom, and she still is. She's a great mom, and she's still living in the Howard area, and so she's still here. And she's very active in her community in Howard and stuff. So they just moved here, and this is where we made it work.
Yeah, and so so pretty much raised here. If you don't mind me asking, what year was that?
That would be 71, I guess, because I was born in 70. So sometime in 71, I think I had technically had my first birthday here. So So from
what they tell you probably don't remember. Right?
but I definitely, all my memories go back to Salida, and it's been and I definitely have a huge pride in Colorado and Salida in general for that. But not just from just being here, but from traveling and seeing the world and then coming back, and then you realize how special it is here for sure.
Yeah. No, I want to talk to you a little bit about that. But before I forget, your dad was one of the first people. What's your dad's name?
Chris Byars.
Okay. So Chris Byars, and he was one of the first artists to come here in this. So obviously very early 70s.
Yeah. Early 70s. And I mean, there might've been others, but he bought a building downtown and opened a gallery, and he's been written up by Ed Quillen and different people that have owned Colorado Central and stuff.
Okay.
And a lot of the artists pay homage to him and stuff as that. And he didn't sell a lot here though, because he does big industrial sculptures.
Okay.
And so he's got a nice sculpture in the lobby of the hospital that was donated. And he's had done a lot of stuff in like shopping malls and back east and Denver and Boulder. And so he does these bigger, huge metal sculptures, but he also did other stuff and would have drawing workshops. And so a lot of the artists would gather at his gallery or different people's gallery, and they would draw and do life drawing, or he does some scrap metal sculpture too, and different mediums of clay and what have you. But he's retired now, so people still see him hanging out downtown, and he's just, this is home for us.
Yeah, no, I think that's cool because he created was one of the first in what's now an artist community. Salida is a creative district now, and
he made his living at it too.
Yeah.
Like he painted some of the buildings, and I've done some of that as well. And he's had a few jobs here and there, but mostly he's made his entire living as an artist, or living frugally and not needing as much money as some people do.
Yeah.
He's definitely roughed it over the years,
but made it work out here.
Yeah.
So you grew up here. So give us a few little snippets of memories being a kid growing up in Salida. What was it like growing up, 70s, 80s?
It was
Salida?
quite a bit different. It was, everybody struggled because their wages were super low back then. And, but you could also buy a house. Like people could afford to like, I think my parents joked how they bought their first house to save money because they were paying 125 months rent, and they found out that if they bought a house, their mortgage would be $80. So they basically bought a house.
Incredible.
Because Climax had closed down, and it was a ghost town. Like it was a super struggling
when the mine
community.
closed down.
When the mine closed down, a lot of stuff was for sale and cheap here, and that's. But you also didn't make a lot either, and a lot of times growing up after I finished school or took a break from school, sometimes I didn't work in Salida because once I had kids, like making $8 an hour was not really enough. So I would commute to Crested Butte and Telluride and different communities where they actually paid a little more for and valued the trades. But now that Salida's grown and there's a lot of new people, now you can definitely, everyone gets at least a decent wage here and can hold on. If you're in those trades. It might still be less than other communities, but it's balanced out more.
And you're talking about carpentry and other work like that?
Yeah, carpentry and tile and painting and historic remodeling and remodels, but mostly I do carpentry.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so did you, I guess to back up a little bit, you said you left and then came back. How old were you when you did that?
Well, I just went to college, really. And then there was a time when I was living here, but I would just commute all the way to Telluride and like stay there for a week. And that was when my kids were young. Okay. And I would live there for a week and then come back on the weekends and be with my kids or whatever. But that was just, in the 90s or whatever. Okay. I've pretty much been in Salida the whole time. I've tried to live a couple places, but pretty much always been here. A little bit in Crested Butte and a little bit in Telluride. And I got stuck in Washington, D.C. for one winter. That was the only winter I didn't have a season pass. But I guess you more asked, like, what was it like as a child here? The one thing that's significantly changed is the river community. I played on the river and we tubed, but it was pretty rough down there. Like it was just a junkyard, kind of like broken glass, and the railroad bridge went over the river and the banks were steep, and it wasn't a friendly little playground like it is now, which is beautiful because now that Fred Lowry and all the different people like Mike Harvey and stuff building these play parks and the new wave that we all surf on, or just change, they're mainly the river walk and the boulders and everything down there has really made it a lot more friendly and more inviting, and that's a big difference. Because when we were kids, we were the only kids swimming in the river.
Gotcha.
Me and a few of my
because you were wild and it was not safe.
It was wild and not safe. Yeah, we were, but that's okay.
No life jackets. I presume.
No life jackets and all that. There was no rules, and so that was how we that's what we did in the summer. And and I played little league baseball and a little bit of that stuff too, but it was kind of boring compared to ski racing and tubing and stuff. So and so that was one of the other things that I really liked about living here is I've been skiing Monarch my whole life, and I raced on the ski team and really took a liking to skiing a lot. I skied a lot. And that's probably my biggest claim to fame is I was invited to compete in the World Extreme Ski Championships in Valdez, Alaska.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And
that's
so
cool.
That's probably the one of the most, now that I'm this old, I can't do that anymore. I definitely know that my best days of skiing are behind me. Although I still enjoy skiing a lot and love skiing and ski pretty well, I do not ski like I did when I was in my 20s.
Sure. I mean, yeah, it's hard to compete with the body of a 20-year-old, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I understand.
But it was a great experience to grow up skiing here in Taos and Crested Butte and all those mountains, because I went to college in Gunnison, so I skied there.
Okay.
And my dad was married to a lady who was a ski instructor in Taos, so I used to go to Taos in high school and ski Taos a lot, and that's where I learned to ski really steeps and huck cliffs and all that kind of stuff. So I've definitely put my time in on the slopes.
It sounds like it, but you still ski now, right?
Oh yeah. Every powder day I can. Yeah, my bosses know that if it's a powder day, I'm probably not going to be there. And high water, it's hard to get me to go to work. And now the surf wave, it's been pathetic. I just basically only work when they really, really need me.
You're in a good spot though.
Yeah,
it sounds like
I'm a grandpa now, so I'm trying to pretend like I'm retired.
That's right. Yeah, no, I wanted to mention that, but you brought it up. So congratulations.
Yeah.
As of what, a month ago?
Just 4th of July, just a little over. Pretty much in 1 month. Exactly. Yeah.
Congratulations. You've got a little granddaughter?
Yeah, granddaughter, little Juniper Nova. She's a sweetheart. And
that's awesome.
And it's really been special watching my son take it so seriously and also just be enamored with the whole process. And
do they live here?
Yeah, we're all living together, or not, because we have the building, so they're living upstairs, and Jonah's sister, my daughter Lexi, she helps out tremendously, and
awesome.
And Jillian Way has the hostel downtown, the Simple Lodge, and so
nice.
So we're right near there, so we can just zip over there, and those guys kind of do the check-ins and run the lodge, and that's her business. And so so she's a new member to the community, but super great lady that's part of our family now. And so that's
wonderful. And I love that your kids are still here too, so that just shows this community here.
Yeah, when we were kids, they kind of called you a lifer if you were out of high school and still here. It was kind of a loser kind of thing. It was frowned upon. Kind of like, you're a lifer. You're not going to amount to anything. And you go out in the world and you think about success. And there's a lot of people that are just super successful, and my hat's off to them. But what do you do if you have all the money in the world? Well, they're coming back here. Like, that's why some of the locals can't even afford to live here anymore, because the wealthy people are moving in because this is a desirable place to be.
Sure.
And there's great places. I love New Zealand, and I've loved going to Chile, and I've been to Alaska, but there's too many mosquitoes in Alaska, and just things like that. Would just there's great things about a lot of places on the planet, but you got to celebrate. You got to go with what you've got too, and and what we have here is definitely special. It's not our ski area is not huge like Vail, but I've grown to not like that. I like just going to the parking lot and seeing people I know and not having to pay. I don't even know what you have to pay.
I don't even either.
Those skiers.
I haven't gone to those in a while.
I stopped going when it was $15, so I'm sure it's like
I think
40
it's gone
or 50.
Up.
Yeah, like I don't.
No,
I'm like
it's over 100 now.
and I'm just like, what? A day ticket. You could. Yeah, so I just. Yeah, and we get a lot of big powder days, so you just celebrate that. And then the river's world class. I've been kayaking my whole life, and that's how I became Commodore, is because I've been active kayak racer and boating and doing the slalom and the downriver races and stuff for years. And the rivers is definitely where I spend most of my time in the
It is.
summer.
I think I approached you about being on this podcast when you're about to go surf.
Yeah.
So I saw you down by the river. So for people who are listening and don't know what being Commodore is and what FIBArk is, just give us a quick little synopsis.
Definitely people don't know. Like that's during FIBArk, it was pretty, I know a lot of people in this community, but obviously I don't know everyone.
Sure.
But when someone comes up to you and makes some weird comment about me being a pilot of an airline or wearing this funny hat, you instantly just are like, okay, you're a tourist. Because all the locals know that every year we have the Commodore is kind of the captain of the ship, and the ship is the festival. Like, so that you are just representing Salida and the FIBArk community and the festival itself. And everybody, all the old Commodores are wearing a hat also, but you're in the current position of the current Commodore, and you introduce the bands and for the people that don't even know what FIBArk is, it's first in boating on the Arkansas. The ARC stands for the Arkansas River. So first in boating, because it's the oldest, longest kayak race in the country. And it was just started with a dare 76 years ago now. And they had to shorten the race because they were like, oh, let's battle the Canyon City, which I've only done once in my life. We did the whole river one day.
How did that work out for you?
It was, my wrist creaked for like 3 weeks. It was like the Tin Man. It creaked. Geez. We went all the way from the granite to the gorge in a day in high water, and it was 12 or 14 hours of paddling.
Exhausting.
And it was very exhausting. And so just doing half of that, 50 miles, is in old primitive boats is intense. Because when you go through these rapids at high water, it's real.
Yeah.
It's super real. Even this year, like just racing from Browns Canyon to Salida was pretty much one of the most intense things I've done. I mean, downhill skiing is definitely really intense, and World Extreme Ski Championships definitely was scary. Yeah. But you can always stop on snow. And
that's true. Yeah.
Once you enter a rapid, you're in. And then when you're in a race boat that's 14 feet long and they're not really designed to do anything but go straight, and you don't want to get sideways.
Yeah, you
don't want to flip over. They're kind of easy to roll, but they're almost like a log, so they could keep rolling. And
geez.
It's intense. Like it's full on. And it just felt really good to be a part of that. And also it takes years to get good enough to do it, and then you're not like, now I'm finally like doing well because all the really good paddlers are old and have quit, and this like
and you won't stop.
And so I'm still good. And we're starting to get a new generation of paddlers coming in, but kayaking has kind of died out compared to how it was, and the amount of boaters that really still come and do the sport is less and less, it seems like, especially in the racing categories of slalom and downriver. Like, it actually isn't even an Olympic sport now that downriver is. Slalom is. Okay. And now they have boater cross and stuff. It's been very exciting on the Olympics to watch it, but I guess they can't do the wild water because it's just a technical nightmare for security to protect these athletes on 12 miles of river through some canyon or whatever. And then where's the river going to be?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's our, so it's all right. That's what's nice about Salida, and kind of bringing it all back around to here is we have it right here. Like, one of the funnest races I did it this year, didn't do very well, but I have in the past done well, was the pole pedal paddle race.
I wanted to bring that up with you. Thank you.
And
explain what that is, because that's like that's quintessential Salida athletics. So
it's
what is that?
definitely it's a they did it when I was really young. It was the 5P back then, but it was a pole plod paddle, and they did it on the road.
Okay.
There was a running section. There was a ski section to a runner, to a road bike, to another road bike, and then they kayaked from like Salida to Swissvale.
Wow.
But it became a logistical nightmare with the highway.
Yeah.
So they stopped the race for many years, and then they brought it back as a mountain bike race, because then you could ski to your mountain bike, then you could stay off the roads, and then they like just make you like run your bike across.
Okay.
Instead of ride.
That's
or whatever.
better.
So then you only cross the highway like once or twice. And then you mountain bike all the way to your kayak, and then you kayak to Salida. But it's a pretty cool, fun race. You start at the top of Monarch Pass, and then and they do it, right at the end of ski season when there's enough snow. So it's and
you can mountain bike.
It's pretty much like bad skiing, really bad mountain biking, and really low water, basically horrible kayaking. But you can do all three in one day. And
it's like not the season for any of them,
not
but
quite the season
they overlap
for any
just
of them.
enough.
But the skiing was actually pretty good this year.
Yeah, we had a late season this year, but
and sometimes the skiing's just absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
And then the biking's a little better. But the kayaking is always like barely enough water to get down the river, but that also makes it to where people who aren't really kayakers can do the event. Yeah. You just can't win because you don't have a glass race boat. And so to be competitive, you got to have a glass race boat.
So some people do it as a relay, but did you do all three legs?
I do all three because I can do all three, but I know,
but that's what I mean.
Super horrible in the mountain bike
Not
this
a lot
year.
of people can do all of those things at a competitive level. That's what I was saying. You're kind of
a few years ago, I was
athlete.
off the couch. I got fourth, and everyone was super impressed. I was super impressed that I got fourth once.
This past year?
No, God, I didn't even keep track. I shouldn't have used clip pedals. I kept falling in the snow, and the bike leg got longer because some private property has been bought. So now the bike leg is increased by almost a full hour.
Oh, goodness.
So
it's
the
intense.
bike leg is brutal. So Garrett Lumberg won, a local won.
Okay.
And a buddy of mine from Gunnison used to win. No one could beat him. He won 4 years in a row or 5 years in a row. And he didn't. I don't think he raced this year, but because I don't think he likes the new bike leg either. And he's getting older too. He's done it,
Yeah.
And so,
quit while you're ahead.
The Lacey boys always do really good, and different people do really well. But that's who beat me was the Lacey boys, and
that's okay.
But anyway,
I just think it's cool that it highlights. I mean, where else can you do all three of those things in one day?
Yeah,
it's very Salida.
Yeah, it is, and a lot of my friends like to do that. They even if it's not the race, they like to do a day of skiing, and then you can come down and get in a quick little kayak session. Yeah, and then you could go for a bike ride before sunset, and the trifecta or whatever people like to call it. And, and so and that's pretty much why I'm still here. Is because
of that lifestyle.
Because of the lifestyle. I had a little BMX bike as a kid, and we used to push it up in the hills and ride down the trails. And sometimes I joke that we actually invented mountain biking. Like we were just little kids that did it. There were no mountain bikes back then.
Oh, there you go. And, it's because the Arkansas trail system has only, I think it was 2010. It hasn't been around that long.
No, we were riding trails that were just deer trails and hiking trails and old Native American trails. Like the Sand Dunes Trail's probably 500 or 1,000 years old because it's secret little sand dunes back there. Yeah. And so that's where we would push our bikes, or behind our cabin up at Castle Gardens, we used to push our bikes back up there. Okay. And that's why mountain bikes needed to be kind of invented, was beach cruisers and fat tired bikes usually were single speeds and you couldn't go uphill. So they started modifying beach cruisers and putting 10-speed gears on them so you could go uphill. And that's kind of the birth of mountain biking. And they kind of say that it's either Crested Butte or Marin County is kind of
where
but really, like the people have been mountain biking since the bike was invented in Europe. Like, I mean, there weren't paved roads when bikes are old, and they haven't changed that much in 100 years. So we've always been mountain biking, but now they've gotten more and more specialized to where they're you know, with all the shocks and the fat tires, and you can ride harder and harder stuff. But still, you know, our guru in town, Don McClung, he's the one that helped start the 29er movement and make single speeds, and he still rides. And so we would all try to keep up with him and ride with him, and that's just what we do, you know.
That's just what you do. And so there's a trail named after you, isn't there?
Yeah, the Poly Trail is
in the Arkansas Trail System.
Yeah, and I made the upper sand dunes too, because like I said, I pushed our bikes as kids up to the sand dunes. So one day I was riding, and me and my buddy Steve McClung, that owns the knife shop out there, I was like, hey, let's drop right here, and I'll bet we get to the sand dunes. And we did. And we didn't really make the trail. We just rode off 173 down into the creek, and then there was like a waterfall. So we just backed up a little bit and stuck a stick in the creek to kind of indicate this deer trail that we found. And then and that section's actually still part of the new sand dunes, because it was a little bit unsustainable. We just drop into steep stuff and just ride. Like, we didn't go out there with a shovel or nothing. And then so we just rode that elk trail or deer trail, and that was through a real technical section, and then back into the creek, and then it went to this old, probably mining wagon road that was there's a little cave back up in there, and there was probably some mining up there or whatever, and so it went right to that, and then boom, done. Like, and then that was it. And we've been riding it ever since. And now they've rerouted it a little more for erosion and what have you. And the same with the Poly. The Poly was up above that, and I had found this little wagon road up there, and that was off of another kind of 4-wheel drive road. And so that was just like the little scenic wagon loop extension of the sand dunes. And so that was just a little extension. And then I showed a friend of mine who has a bike shop that trail, and he was cool enough to name it after me or whatever. He's like, we should call this the Poly Trail, because I showed it to him. And then they've rerouted it again, because it was also primitive and rough. But it's a great trail. I like to ride it, and it's kind of fun to have a trail named after you, for sure.
That's really fun to have a trail named after you. That's pretty cool. I don't know how many people can say that. That's awesome. Well, so I guess, there's so many things you brought up that I don't want to forget to talk about. But I guess one thing that I think you are really good at in this community is being really welcoming, because, I mean, you know, our community has grown substantially since you grew up here, right?
Yeah, it was a ghost town when we were here. We were the only ones really living downtown and using the building. A lot of the buildings, nobody lived upstairs. A lot of the businesses were closed. Like, there was a few, you know, Gambles and Cruise Bags and some other shops or whatever, you know, but now everything that can put a person in is habitable. That there's people in those spaces, and even people that are, you know, camping out in the woods just to be here. So it's definitely changed a lot, and it's fun to be kind of welcoming. Like the other day, I ran into this guy, and I could tell he was kind of lost and kind of a little bit frustrated. And he's like, "Oh God, I just came here and I can't check into my hotel early. I don't know what to do. What music is there?" And then I told him about the music scene that's going on, and just told him what. And then he's like, "Yeah, I'm a guitar teacher." And I was like, "What? You should check out Jeff Bamberg's guitar shop." And he was closed that day because it was a Sunday. But I showed him the guitar that I made with Jeff Bamberg, and we sat out on the sidewalk with my dad and played saxophone, and this guy played my handmade guitar that I'd made with Jeff Bamberg, and because Jeff used to be in our building for 5 years, and so I made a couple guitars with him before he moved to 5 doors down or whatever. And this guy was way into it, and it was fun, you know, because some of the new people that come here, or even just that guy, he was just here for a day. He was super stoked, and it turned out to be fun, and got my dad to play. And
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And it was interesting though, because my he's living with me because he's got a cognitive issue going on.
Sure.
You know, you could call it dementia or whatever, but he can function fine and he doesn't think he needs my help. But it's clear because he looked over at me and he's like, I didn't know you knew how to play the horn. And he's like, God, you play really well. And so he kind of listened more than he played.
Yeah.
And it was sad and nice to see at the same time. But it was sad because he definitely usually remembers that I play the horn.
Yeah.
Because he'll even catch me, like, because I use his horn sometime. He's, where are you going with my horn? Because he knows his case and he knows my case. And so I went back to my other new saxophone because he has a really good horn and he gave it to me. But now that he's in this brain thing, it's his horn again.
Oh,
so where are you going with my horn? He's like, that's fine. But he knows it's his horn and all that. So, yeah, like it's good to be welcoming to people when they come to town. But I also don't have it in me to be like we were talking about this, like to be a waiter. And I tried to be a raft guide. I'm not really, I don't have a whole lot of patience for stuff like that.
No, I think what I'm trying to mean is just as being a native and being accepting of people coming here, like you recognize this is a desirable place and whether or not you like it or not, people are finding it, you know.
Yeah,
so,
they're going to come but they should
like to have a positive attitude about it.
Yeah, but they should come and accept the people that are here too, even 100%, the rough people, because we like the rough side of Salida, you know, and like people might not like clotheslines or whatever. They don't want to see your clothes. Well, I don't really like dryers. They're a waste of energy. We live in Colorado. If you're going to take the time to hang up your clothes, I think it's cool. And
there you go.
It dries instantly and your dryers smell. They have all this fabric softeners or whatever. So can I go out and ban dryers? Or can I actually like it when somebody's fixing their car in the driveway or have old vehicles in their yard or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I don't really want to invite this whole idea that we have to have covenants for the whole town and everybody's got to have a perfectly painted fence or whatever.
Well, that's not really happening in the...
It doesn't always, but it does some. There's some, you know, we've got gated communities now and there's
different parts of the outside of town.
And if you want to choose that, I guess that's okay. And I work in those areas too, but I also really like the funkiness of Salida and I would
maintaining that. Right?
Yeah. And I'm more into, you know, the people like one time we went mountain biking and this old guy at breakfast, we were eating breakfast somewhere and he comes up and he was like, you guys are so cool. I'll bet those bikes are worth more than that car. And then my buddy's got an old Ranchero that he paid $400 for. And he looks at him and he's like, actually, each bike is worth about 7 times the car. and the guy was like, man, you got your priorities right. You know, and that's kind of how we roll around here.
Yeah.
You know, we got a $500 car and a $7,000 mountain bike.
Because why do you need an expensive car if you're just walking around and biking? And, you know, if you're downtown Salida, right?
We might not, you know, our house might not be painted, but we got 5 pair of skis and 3 surfboards and a couple kayaks and bikes and.
Well, there you go. Because you got to play, you got all that outdoor stuff.
Yeah, and that's why we're here. So,
well, I love that. Well, I love your insights into the community. Is there anything else you want to add, real quick, about just living here and somebody who's even considering moving here? You know,
it's to each his own. Like you know, we got to figure out where you want to be in this lifetime, and I hope that. The people that want to stay here can hold on and stay. And the people that are moving here, they're coming, I guess, whether you like it or not. So you have to just try to hold on to what we have. I've seen the growing pains in other communities. Like I have friends in Crested Butte and Telluride, and I know how much harder and luckily it held off for a long time here. And sometimes I think it might even have been because we're not quite as welcoming to the hoity-toityness of it. Like you can't
funkiness here.
You can't just walk in and be rude and try to snap your fingers and act like we're going to jump for you just because we're a waiter or a raft guide or a carpenter or whatever. Kindness is fine.
Yeah.
Like I'm really lucky with the people I work for and the new people that have moved here. They really are appreciative of my carpentry work or my tile work. And they understand that I'm going to go skiing on a powder day and they're okay with it. And,
that's cool.
And if they're not, then I don't know what to say. Like, it's not, my house isn't done either. And it's 150 years old or whatever. It's an old building and there's many projects that don't get done, but you still got to get out and enjoy your life.
Enjoy life. I've always thought that the people, if you're coming, contribute in a positive way to the community. And I know real quick, the event that happened last week for your birthday, I mean, that was a big celebration of community coming together. And I think that's a really beautiful depiction of Salida community coming together and the music scene.
That was a really big, a really big honor for me to have put that together at the Velveteen with Ashley from Bunny and Clyde's offered to throw me a Commodore party. Yeah. At least that's what I'd heard during FIBArk. They were like, well, let's have an after party. And then, man, everyone was pretty burned out after FIBArk. It was a big FIBArk.
It was a big FIBArk,
So then time went on and then I was like, gosh, my birthday's coming up and it's also the birthday of Bonnie Culpepper, who's this sweet young lady who was in a tragic car accident caused by someone else. And she was taken from us too young. And so it would have been her 30th birthday. And we shared this birthday together. And we'd always talked about having a kind of a Jerry Garcia State of Colorado birthday because it's the state of Colorado's birthday also. And we joked about it and we just never organized it. And then so I was like, you know what, we're going to have a party for Bonnie and invite some people that know her songs. And her mom and stepdad came and different people that knew her were there. And then, of course, all the people that know me for my birthday, they were super stoked to come because I've been invited to be in like 6 bands this year. And so 4 of my bands were able to make it to the concert and all perform. And so we had Bighorn and Fuzztron and my friends Stable Hand came down from Leadville. Yeah. And then my other friends, we have a band with David Sheehan called The Usual Suspects, and that's who started it out. And I play flute and sax with them.
Did you play every single? Did you?
Yeah, I played with every band.
Okay, that's amazing.
I mean, I don't play all the songs with Fuzztron. They're like a different band, but they let me.
But you were doing.
But they always invite me to their shows to play a couple songs with them. And same with Bighorn. They're a all original ska punk funk band. Cool. That I play half of their set, and same with like the Dirty Groovers. I play just half the songs with them, whatever. But the other 2 bands are kind of more like my bands. I've been in them since the beginning, and I play all the songs with David and my buddies from Leadville, and we got a gig tomorrow, and we played at Boom Days, and we're playing tomorrow up in Leadville, and.
You've got a lot of energy, Paul.
Yeah, I try to, and I guess that's part of being a Leo or a triple Leo, or just having a lot of energy and eating well, and just being active. You just
do a
keep
lot.
Going.
It's awesome, and you contribute so well to this community. But I love just your insight into that event. Was just you texted me and you said what makes Salida beautiful is the community, and you talked about that event that we just talked about, and I think that's true. I mean, I think it's important to remember that part of it is just as long as we keep that strong community vibe, we'll be okay.
And that's really I've noticed that because I've been to other communities where, like that year I got stuck out in Washington, D.C., I met some really good people. I worked at Greenpeace and I met some neat people, and I would ask them how long they'd known people, and they'd only known them for a year or 2. And you really... There might be thousands and thousands of people in some city, but they really only know a few people. Yeah. And we still have this community where I know hundreds and hundreds of people. Do. Yeah. And because I've lived here a long time. And when I played at FIBArk and got invited to play on stage with the headliner, my bands opened up too. And I had all these people come to that. And I got to play on the stage with the Bighorn and my band from Leadville, Stable Hand. But when I played with the Talking Heads cover band, they were the headliner. Yeah. Everyone was there. And the people that weren't there missed out. And
I know.
And even I have a lot of local friends that are like, oh, I don't want to be at FIBArk. There's too many tourists and it's too busy. And I'm like, you're missing out because really the people that come are pretty fun people. Like they're here to have a good time.
It's a fun
And all
event,
the locals that come out are definitely there to have a good time. And when I walked out on stage, it was kind of a spiritual experience. Like the way they were excited for me to be on stage with that band and Commodore and representing FIBArk and Salida, I literally felt like I got a wave of love that just hit me. And I knew it wasn't tourists that excited because they don't know what the Commodore is. They don't know what the Commodore hat is. They don't know who Paul Byars
it's
is.
all the people that know and love you and support you.
But the people out there, because I definitely could see 40 or 50 people in the audience that I knew. But when they yelled, I was like, there's 500 people out there that know me. Like, it was like my brain separated all their voices and I could just hear.
That's incredible.
This iconic figures that I've known for 1 year or 40 years out there. And we just had a great time. And the band itself said it was the warmest crowd and the best venue they ever played around the world. Like, they're a big
That's
deal.
amazing.
Yeah.
And this is just the stage in Riverside Park. So
they said
downtown
just
Salida.
the way it slopes up and the venue and the crowd and
the vibe
and it was just a really special day for even the band. And so that was just a great coincidence that a friend of mine knew the band members and they're like, you want to meet the band?
That's so cool.
That's awesome. I guess that's pretty much what you brought me in for, was just to talk about the local flair of what I do.
I
here.
appreciate it. I feel like we could talk to you for a long time, but we'll have to let you go today. But thank you so much, Paul. I appreciate your time. And if somebody wants to work with you for your carpentry work, where could they find you?
Well, I have my shop set up right now downtown in our building, but I'm just Eagle Eye Carpentry. I don't even have a website because I have a website where I write called Citizens Press, citizenspress.com, but no one uses it.
I'll have the info in the show notes if you want. But
then you can read some of my crazy writings and political ideas and stuff like that, or just what I think the world could be and should be.
Nice.
I'm down next to Osaki. It's downtown, but it's kind of, I pretty much work for Delarue Building Company.
Okay, so you kind of do outsource stuff that way. Okay.
And they hire me a lot, and then I just, through word of mouth, and people know me, and they just
reach out to me if you want.
I have enough work, and like I said, I'm a grandpa now, so you're good. I'm phasing out, but I definitely help people out because a lot of people, it's hard to find people that do remodels or historic.
That's awesome.
Like I worked on Mike Almeida's building. We put in new windows. Some of the old buildings, I've done a lot of that. So some people don't like to do that kind of work. I actually don't mind remodels as much. And so, that's what I do. And
well, thank you for all that you do for our community. I do appreciate you being
people get a hold of me to go surfing or skiing or biking or
you'll see him around. If you hang out in Salida, you'll definitely see
come
Paul
hear my music
bebopping around.
Play some music, or if they need a sax player, that's more
that's
my.
you. Cool. Yeah. Well, thank you. You go have more fun out there.
Okay. All right, Monica.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Living in Salida podcast. I'm Monica McCarthy, a realtor who specializes in Salida and surrounding areas. And if you found this episode helpful, particularly if you have a friend that is considering buying here, please share it with them and subscribe if you can. I have my information as well in the show notes, so you can reach out to me there. And if you have comments, questions, or you want to be on this show, you can email me at livinginsalida@gmail.com, and we can connect that way. Thank you for listening.